Alright, so we're going to need to find a picture. Go to Google. We're going to look for Harambe, Make America Great Again. Go to Images. Find the image that you want to use. Once you've selected your image, go ahead and save it to your computer. Then we're going to go to an SVG file converter. Once you upload the file, you can use most file types, but there's a couple of different drop-down options. I like this website quite a bit. You can select how much detail you want, and also how to you can invert the colors. So depending on the type of picture that you want to convert, it can be pretty handy. The only thing that it really has a hard time with, and you'll notice, is the letters. Any kind of perfectly straight line or detailed lettering normally gets kind of jumbled up in these file converters. So you just have to go in and touch those up once you get it into Fusion. So I'm not going to show you the whole deal. This is I'll just do a run through of the image being created. All I did was bring in an SVG file and make a 9.5 by 9.5 inch board, and just went through and found all the little pieces and extruded them down, added the lettering. And then for the cam portion, I wanted to go in for the big flat areas, and I'll show that here in a second. Go into the big flat areas here and just mill those out first, and then this is kind of all the detailed pieces. It's just going to go in with a 45-degree bit and just carve all that out. And then just the last step is cutting out the board itself. So we'll post that. Actually, let me just do a simulation. For the simulation, I normally pick the wall paint just because I think it shows up a little bit better. Let's speed that up. Goes in, does the flat areas, and then the V bit comes in here and does all the detail work. One thing you can do, you can turn off the actual plaques. That way you're only looking at the simulated cut, and you can make sure that there's no large errors that happened. Sometimes it can be hard to see if you're looking at the simulated cut and the board itself. And we'll zero the corner there. It doesn't have to be exact because I'm using a pretty well oversized piece of wood. Touch off to the surface there. When I made this, my main method I was using is I would have the vacuum palette down on the table, but then I would use sticky tape to stick to the top of the vacuum palette. Since making this video, I found that for making plaques, it's easier just to put masking tape on the bottom of the piece of wood and just use the put some O-ring on that vacuum table and suck it down that way. It works pretty good. I put masking tape over the top just to cover the areas. That way when I paint into the surface, it doesn't mess it up any. And then just like the simulation, you start with the flats. And for this, I'm just using a 2 flute 1/8 inch end mill. And then you can see here that the V-bit is just going in and carving out everything. And like I said, the tape on the surface will make it a little bit easier, so I can paint the bottoms of the areas without getting a lot of paint on the large flat areas. Obviously, the lettering and all the smaller areas will have to be touched up by hand. and cut out the profile. I left about 50 thousandths on the floor, so that way around the edge there's that little lip, and that's kind of just the leftovers because I don't want to go into my vacuum table. So you just hit it on a V-bit on a router. Gives a nice clean edge. Do a little bit of hand touch-up. Then I gotta figure out how I'm going to paint the thing real quick. And obviously cover up the sides. Don't want to get paint all over the whole thing. On here, I just want to get the large burrs so it doesn't leave kind of a shadow of this where the spray would go, just to make all the fine-tuning of this thing a little bit easier. And then also, because the Tormach does have kind of slow RPMs, it tends to leave a bit of a burr at the bottom of the V, so I go in here with a little bit of some kind of just pointed tool. Sometimes I use a nail, or in this case a scribe, and just kind of knock those little burrs out. And once I get it mostly taken care of, I cover up the portion that I don't want red. And then I cover up the other portion so I can paint the face black. Kind of want to hit it from all angles because the way the V-bit went in there, it's definitely going to leave certain areas, more shielded if you only hit it from, a couple of different directions. You want to make sure you hit it from all sides. And just pulling the masking tape off. It's a little bit tedious. Then you just want to use something flat, sand the surface. It'll hit all the flat areas, kind of bring out the detail a little bit more. Go in here with a Sharpie and sharpen up some of the smaller letterings that didn't get a lot of paint in them. Put some dark stain on here. You just got to be careful not to get it too close to the paint because the stain will actually it's a solvent for the paint, so you don't want the paint to bleed into where the stain is. You just got to be careful and just kind of dab it on instead of just heavy-handedly wiping it on. And then apply some finish. I'm just using Velspar satin clear coat, and there we are. That's the finished product. So there you go. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Rest in peace, Harambe.